Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone doing this morning? So we have a little update on the John Paul Miller episode. Is he looking at possibly a 5150? I don't know. He's got some things going on that it might be looking like he's heading in that direction. For those of you who do not know what a 5150 is, 5150 is an involuntary hold. 5150 is the number of the section of the Welfare and Institution Code, which allows an adult who is experiencing a mental health crisis to be voluntarily detained for a 72-hour psychiatric hospitalization when evaluated to be in danger to either others, himself, or gravely disabled. I don't know what you all think. It's almost kind of sounding like he's heading in that direction. So JLR and Magnolia, they got to talk with a former member of John Paul Miller's congregation. And even though it's been quite a few years since she attended John Paul's church, she does have a lot of information, and she has been participating with the protests that are right out in front of their church. So I thought I would share with you this morning the video of JLR and Magnolia talking with the former member of John Paul Miller's congregation. I thought it was quite interesting. So let's get into it, and let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe on your way in, and let's check this video out by JLR and Magnolia. All right.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome from across the globe. Come on in. JLR Investigates. Let's talk. Continuous coverage of the Micah Francis, John Paul Miller case. Come on in, everyone. Good morning. 6/29/2024. When will it be accountability time? Is it coming soon? Stay tuned. Come on in. Hello, everyone. So we got some things we're going to talk about this morning. We got two very special guests that are going to call in very, very shortly. Magnolia Investigates and one of her many sources when it comes to this case, Micah Francis, John Paul Miller. One of her sources, a former member of the Solid Rock Church. They're going to call in just shortly. We're going to actually play a clip first of John Paul Miller because he speaks again on that TikTok channel that some speculate that he is running himself or directing someone to run and operate. And then Magnolia is going to share a lot. We're just going to have a discussion about this case. Still to this day, no arrests made. Will arrests be coming soon? Stay tuned. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So John Paul Miller speaks again last night. And I titled this video Fall from Grace because he literally talks about falling out of a tree. the viral video of John Paul Miller acting irrational and laying in the lawn around his ex-wife's house, he justifies and says that he fell from a tree. And some very strange and bizarre things. But we're going to listen to that, and then I'm going to have Magnolia and former member of the church call in, and we're going to just have a conversation. We're going to talk. We're going to get some insight. It's always good to hear from former members of the church. It's always good to hear from people that know these people firsthand and can give us insight. We want to get insight. We want to know what was going on behind the scenes, what was going on all these years with these two individuals. What was going on, folks? Come on in. And then Trisha Ross actually speaks out too. Trisha Ross is one of the church's, you would say, loyalists to John Paul Miller. Trisha Ross is holding an event. They're holding an event this weekend, by the way. And it's some sort of superhero event. And she actually made a public post on Facebook about this superhero event. We're going to talk about Trisha Ross. This is the inner circle of John Paul Miller and the Solid Rock Church. We'll talk more about that shortly. Let's play the first clip because he speaks again last night. Not much of substance, but, you know, it seems like possibly that John Paul Miller could be under some substances. You know, he doesn't reveal much, but, you know, I'm a little questioning whether he is under the influence when he makes these posts because you could decide yourself. You know, I have my opinions. I don't think he's, you know, there. I think maybe he maybe snorting some things, maybe not. You decide. So here he goes.
Hello, Tyler Elizabeth. How are you doing? You asked about when I was sprawled out on the ground on that video from like 10 years ago or something like that. I thought I already answered this or made a video about this in the beginning or a month ago or something. Anyway, that was me after I had fallen out of a tree. I broke 12 bones, and I was on pain medicine for the first time in my life, like that type of pain medicine, you know. And I just got my cast off. I think my body cast had just come off. Everything was body cast. I had all kind of different ways to help me move in life. And I just got off, and I was still on pain medicine. And I took a little bit too many pain meds that day. And
every month, this Airbnb pays me in semi-passive income. Now, here's the thing. I don't own it, and I don't.
Yeah, it was a bad day, but that's it.
Not much. You know, it has nothing to do with the 350 pieces of documents or evidence that he claims he was showing to the public, which he still hasn't done to this day. Falling out of a tree, breaking bones. Why was he in a tree? Well, you know, I suspect he was in a tree because he was looking and spying on his ex-wife, right? I mean, it kind of sounds like a little bit about, you know, reminds me of Back to the Future and George.
So later on in this video, they do confirm that it wasn't his ex's house. He was on the ground at, it was at the church. So that'll get cleared up later in the video.
McFly looking, you know, in a tree, right? Kind of reminds me a little bit about that. Spying on somebody who just goes up in a tree. Does he think he's Johnny Appleseed or Christopher Robbins? Is that who goes up in a tree and just goes up in a tree as an adult? He doesn't do tree work for a living, so why was he up in a tree? And then, you know, he fell. Fall from grace, folks. Some people, again, says about the sniffling the nose that, you know, he thinks, he says he has a medical condition. We're not making fun of anyone with a medical condition, but that's his justification for the sniffles. But, you know, going on TikTok and making these videos just doesn't seem right here. And there seems like there could be some, before, you know, these videos get posted or as these videos get posted, as he knows the circles or the wagons are circling around him, you know, pop a pill or two, snort a line or two, drink he admits to his sins, right? He sins a lot. I'm not saying he does drugs. Not saying that as a statement of fact, Again, we are reviewing and analyzing what he puts out. But to me, it's just bizarre, and it demonstrates to me someone that is under the influence of something, right? Their addiction is real. It is quite possible that, fact that he feels isolated. Everyone's watching every move that he makes. Finances is being analyzed. He's being sued under criminal investigation by the federal government. The federal government, folks. I would be a little bit worried, and it wouldn't shock me if he was under the influence to escape reality, right? Try to escape in his mind. But in reality, the real reality is it's not going away. All his legal troubles down the road are not going away. Let's talk. Got Magnolia. If you could give me a call with our guest, that would be appreciated. We're going to bring 2 people into the chat. Hopefully they're ready, and then we will talk. Oh, here we go. Here we go, folks. Here we go. Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. Oh, we got a little echoing. Turn the echoing down. Awesome. You there?
Yeah. Are we on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone.
Good morning. Hi, Kelly.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us today. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. So this is Kelly that's joining us today. She's one of the sources that I've been speaking to from the beginning. And Kelly has a lot of insight into the church itself. She actually grew up in the church and went to the school when it used to be Cathedral. So she kind of knows a lot of the players going back decades. So Kelly, and also we met Kelly on May 5th at the first protest. And Kelly is the one who the very next week went out to the church and did a silent protest with her Bible. And she was out there alone at first. And then the following week, more people started joining. And so now we see the protests have grown each week. So Kelly, tell us a little bit about your background with the church.
So I was part of Cathedral Hall Church. His father was our minister. My mother, we all went to the church together. My children went to the church. My 5 kids went to the church. And what I can say is, I am so heartbroken. I stated several times, I am so heartbroken. I have, Jenny, I love you. And I'm so sorry. There's so much hurt that I didn't know. You wouldn't, we were enjoying God's word. We were enjoying what the movement. And the worst part is that you really have to have I know I'm going to say it wrong, discernment in your judgment. I don't know what's going on today. I have no earthly idea. But I will say that everything that has come out, I think something's wrong, because this is not the John Paul that I knew. I really think that there is something wrong, and I have a family member that has mental health issues, and that hears voices. And I'm just thankful that they have a support system around them that knows when to say, wait, something's wrong. We need to get some help. And how many people are out here in this world that do not have that support system around them? We see it every day in the city of Myrtle Beach. People with mental health issues and no one is helping them. No one. We have friends that had mental health issues.
So,
really,
Kelly,
like, we see what's going on. We see it. It's in our face. But what about the people that are seeing it every single day? Something is wrong, because this is not the person that I knew.
So Kelly, you said, I mean, when did you? So you never seen a progressive change in him, or just this suddenly just hit all at once, or what?
It hit, like all of this that we see now. I've never witnessed.
Interesting. You know, you made a post on Facebook. Magnolia showed me the post, and you're more or less calling for a 5150 on John Paul Miller.
Yeah, I think something's wrong. Like, John Paul, I love you.
Why are you calling on a 5150 for John Paul Miller?
He has stated that he hears voices, and mental health is something serious. A family member, I've seen the torment that they'll go through with psychosis, and that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that person per se. But
when did you first meet John Paul?
So I would say 2002.
Oh, that's a long time ago. Over 2 decades.
Yeah.
So
and you also knew his family, his father, the church.
Yeah, I knew his grandmother. You know, we were a family. All of us were a family. We're still a family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's heartbreaking. Some of the stuff that has come up. It's just heartbreaking to know that God has his hand on us, but this isn't what it should be about. Unfortunately, I was ready to come back to church, and that was going to be my first stop, because I know when I was attending that church how I felt and what experience, what blessings I felt going to church. And now it's kind of like, oh my goodness, I'm getting tongue-tied, I'm sorry.
Kelly, when you met him in 2002, what did you meet them or him or them, the family, the Miller family, through the ministry, or did you know them as friends? How did you meet?
Through the ministry.
So what was the ministry at the time?
We were at the church. We had a school. There was a theater building. There was a Bible college, and it was Dr. Miller. Now, John Paul was our worship leader.
So it was run by Dr. Reginald Wayne Miller.
Correct.
And then what was like Reginald Wayne Miller like preparing his son to lead down the line?
I couldn't say what the inner workings were. I really there's a lot of leaders that come through that school, a lot of good godly people, a lot of ordained ministers that are wholesome and God-fearing people that are still doing good work.
So how many people were at the church at the time? Was it growing? Was it a small congregation?
Like in my opinion, we were a growing church. There was a lot of struggles. A lot of people helped. We had a food pantry. We had the school. I know a lot of the teachers that were there. We were a family. We attended church on Thursday night. We attended church on Sunday morning. We were a congregation. We were all a family.
So John Paul Miller was like what in his teens at the time, wasn't that I'm trying to figure out. No, well, he was in his early 20s.
Yeah, so he was a young man.
Interesting. When did you meet Micah for the first time?
I've only met Micah once, but I didn't know her at all. I attended church, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago. I decided to go back to church one day, and I went to the church. I met her and said hello, and that was it.
But you would see her at the church as you were attending, right? You would see her there, right?
She was when I was going to that church, she wasn't there.
Do you know why?
I believe she just wasn't. She didn't move into that area until after I already left the church.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think Micah's family started going to the church. I think it was around 2014, if I remember, or somewhere in that range. Yeah. So what about JP? So we were talking about JP and the tree, him falling out of the tree, and he's saying that it's because he took too many pain meds and he had a breakdown on the lawn. But what about this tree incident? Because we talked about this. I've heard that he was spying on someone in the tree, and Miss Tammy.
Yeah, I heard it was at the church property.
At the church property.
It was at the church.
And what was he doing in the?
Okay, so the tree, him falling out of the tree, was at the church property also. Okay.
Tree in the first place.
I have no idea.
So
Yeah,
it wasn't the property of his ex-wife.
No, it was on a church property.
Yeah, because there was a lot of conflicting. People were spreading around in the groups that he's spying on his ex-wife, and that's what I suspected.
Some of the, I like to be factual and see something in black and white, and there are so many rabbit holes with this whole thing that it's crazy. Like, this is really about it. Like a church is all tied up in this, and this is crazy. This is embarrassing, to be honest. This is so embarrassing. It's so hurtful.
Like, what type of rabbit holes are we talking about?
Like, there's so many different things involved in this, but what people really need to realize is that something right now isn't right, and somebody needs to help her.
Help who?
Like all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, in all reality, this is crazy for this all to be tied to a church. This is not right.
Well, because it creates so many victims.
Right.
That's what I've talked about before. Is that I don't think people really fully understand like the scope of everything, because over the years that church has had hundreds and hundreds of people coming through there, and yeah, and they've had interactions with JP. And when you're part of a church, that's your church family. So it's very difficult when you have something like this happen, because it affects so many people, and a lot of you are really hurting. Right. And I think people can hear that in your voice, and it's hard to lose that.
And then with the situation with this is that there's so much triggers, so many different kind of triggers. So you have the domestic violence trigger, you have a mental health trigger, And then you have a church trigger, because I'm sure, and so many people are triggered by this case. Like, this is rough.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. My heart just goes out to her and the whole congregation. You know, this is affecting everybody. This isn't just, you know, Micah and JP. You know, this is everybody. You know, I can hear it in her voice. I feel it, you know, the pain she feels. It's awful. You know, I justice for Micah. You know, whether he did or he didn't, you know, he had a part in it in one way or another. You know, I'm sure he had mental health issues, obviously, you know, and of course Micah did, which is not a good combination together. My heart just goes out to Micah's family and loved ones. You know, it should not be this way. Not at all. Yeah, let's continue.
This is really rough. I don't know how long. I think what a lot of us need to understand that are hurting right now is we need to understand that this is going to be a long battle, and we need to stay together. We need to come together and understand that we're going to have patience and grace with this, because all of this is going to become in God's time. The truth will come out in God's time, and we need to sit back and just pray for all the victims, all of them, because my heart even hurts for John Paul, because something is wrong, because this is, somebody should be helping this young man.
Yes,
Kelly, when you say victims, what victims? Who are we talking about? Victims from the church? Victims of John Paul Miller?
I believe
everyone.
If there are any victims, I should say, because I don't know anything. Everything that I've heard is all hearsay. But domestic violence is real, and it happens. And there could be people that are dealing with this at this point in time, and they are victims, and we should pray for the abused victims who are scared to fight, and no one is standing up for them. I understand the Micah law aspect of this, because there could be silent victims out there that are scared to speak, and maybe they are speaking, and no one is listening.
Yes, and I talked about that the other day. A lot of people believe that, for whatever reason, a lot of people believe that
Runes loads a complete serving of fruits, veggies, adaptogens, vitamins, minerals, super mushrooms.
Micah is the only victim in this case, but I've tried to explain to people there are many, 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 many victims. Micah is the one who exposed everything and, you know, has brought everything to light. But Micah was with JP, the last 7 years? JP and this church goes back decades. So we're talking possibly hundreds of victims at this point, but a lot of them are too scared to come forward. And we know that from the past, when Allison specifically said that he was with these underage girls. At the time, nothing was done because those victims were too scared to come forward. So I think that that's something that people are really missing in this case. Yes, it's about Micah, and Micah was a victim of JP and lost her life at the end, but it wasn't just Micah. There were so many others, even while he was with Micah. You know, there's all these affairs, all these different victims that are slowly coming forward and finding their voice like you. I mean, you're a victim too, because for a long time this was your church home, and this is all just coming out of nowhere for you. But your history also goes back with Wayne Miller, Dr.
Right.
Miller. And you said that your mother worked for him. Is that right?
She was a volunteer. So my mother volunteered her time doing God's work.
And she was with Cathedral?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of this stuff is coming out of left field for a lot of you, and you're all just kind of trying to pick up the pieces and probably questioning all your life choices at this point. But
that's exactly how I feel, Magnolia. I'm questioning, you know, I was questioning my salvation for a while. Like, is my soul saved? Do I need to go be born again? There were so many thoughts coming to me way out of left field. And I wanted, when I heard about her being gone, in my heart, I wanted to, you know, run to the church and care and say, I'm so sorry. And then everything started coming up, and I stopped. And I thought I have to just stand, unfortunately. Like, it's just, I don't know if I'm going to be there for 2 years standing. I don't know how long I'm going to stand on my sidewalk on Sunday, because I was ready to come back to church. And now I can't come. I just have to stand right now, because church trauma is really real. Hurt that people that are leaders, and the misuse of, I wrote it down. What the word I'm looking for is, hold on. The manipulation of the word of God.
yes.
It's real. And some people, like with me, I didn't know about God until I started going to the church. I had no idea. On Sundays, we worked as children. So I really didn't know. We didn't go to church. So I was saved there. Like, my life was rough. I was in the worst part of my life. I was in a low part of my life. I was dealing with an abuser. And it's funny when you yourself have mental health issues, how you can speak of how low you were and where your mind is at that point in time. Unfortunately, I've been in this situation, and I was in the lowest state of my life, and I seen horrible. How do you explain this? When someone like I said, mental health is very real. Please don't judge me, but I seen an extension cord wrap up ceiling into a noose, and at that time period, I heard the devil tell me to take my life because I was in such a low space in my life.
Oh, my heart. Oh, my heart. Oh, my goodness. Sorry. had to take a pause for a second. That is just so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. Okay, let's get back into it.
At that same time period, the women of Cathedral stood in the gap for me and prayed for me and prayed for me an evening. And the next day, I got up the strength to fix a bicycle and ride a bicycle down the interstate, 7 months pregnant with twins, for 5 miles to get to a safe place, to get away from a domestic violence situation.
And the church helped you do that.
The church helped me through that.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's what I want people to understand, is that this is very personal for so many people. And when we talk about JP and Micah, there's so much more that people don't understand. You know, people don't see everything that came before.
Right? People don't see all the good that was there. They're only seeing the bad. But there was good.
Yeah.
There was good. There was godly moments. There was good. And it's a shame that we have to see this bad. And it breaks my heart that we have to see this bad.
You can hear it. You can hear it in her voice. You know, I am a mass empath. And when I was listening to this morning, I had tears. I had tears in my eyes just because I felt her pain. This is way, way deeper than we even imagine. My heart goes out to everybody that is hurting from this. I can't even imagine.
So,
Yeah, and
yeah, Kelly, like, so I know, and we met outside, you were outside the church, and you said you're going to be on the sidewalk every week, right?
Yes.
What would you like to see happen?
My vision is to see the sidewalk filled with God's people just standing there. Like, we need the protesters. I'm sorry, we need the protesters. I love y'all protesters. Don't come for me. But I think if we could get the sidewalks filled with God's people just standing there in silence, I believe our silence speaks more than anything else, because there's so much hurt and we just need to pray. We just really need to pray.
Do you want do you want John Paul Miller to step aside, not be there anymore? Do you want to see him arrested? Do you want to see the church shut down?
I would never want to see the church shut down. Because I'm sure that I'm not the only person that feels this way about that church. I would never want to see the church shut down.
What about John Paul Miller?
It's so hard to say. I would like to know what God's judgment is going to be. To be honest,
Now, how do you feel when you see like a lot of people there, a lot of the protesters, or a lot of people you've been seeing online, you know, calling for John Paul Miller to be arrested or the church to shut down? How do you feel about that?
I understand their anger. I really understand. I wish the second generation domestic violence survivor, I want to be over there in the purple shirt just like I was the first day. But the mental health part of me passed me on the other side. saying something's not right.
Your experiences with Reginald Wayne Miller, could you share some?
Dr. Miller was like a father figure to me. I love Dr. Miller. All I have is good experiences with Dr. Miller. I don't have any bad experiences with Dr. Miller at all.
What do you think about his posts he's been making lately? It seems like there might be a rift between him and John Paul.
I think it's all a gray area. So it could be, it could not be. Like, I don't know. But I would say, like, you know, I have a lot of love for Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller was my pastor when my life changed for the better, to tell you the truth.
So you obviously been seeing, you know, the accusations against Reginald Wayne Miller, going to prison for, the labor and forcing people to work at low wages, him exposing himself to an undercover officer in Myrtle Beach, the accusations that, he's doing inappropriate contact with people in Pakistan.
Right.
What do you say to all that?
What I would say is I would pray. I pray that that's not true. But unfortunately, I really don't know. Like, I can only say what it's a big thing for me of guilty until proven innocent until proven guilty. So I could say that that's enough to say that we all walk in our flesh, that we all are a flesh, and that that's a hard one for me to speak about. Okay.
No, and appreciate your take, because again, I mean, you've known the Millers for over 2 decades.
Right.
And it's always good to hear somebody that knows them for a long time or had experiences with them to share how you feel, how you feel. And it's good that you're sharing how you feel about them.
I would like to, like, I want to say where it's already been obvious that there were 5 or so police reports that were reported concerning issues that people were screaming for help in one way or another. And I would like to say that if I was screaming for help, someone helped me as a woman and a domestic violence survivor. I would like to know that if I had to go to the authorities, that the authorities would do the appropriate action and seek the help that I need. I had to put my abuser in jail, and the city of Myrtle Beach sent the federal marshals after him. And that was just over 1 police report.
Mm-hmm. And they really never, it seems like with Micah, they just never took any of it seriously. I mean, even the day he was literally stalking her in her own car in front of the police officer, and still nothing.
Right. Like, here's a funny tidbit. like this whole situation really has a lot of trauma for me. My abuser. So I went through a horrible situation, and my abuser was choking me, and he looked me in my eyes and said, you're dying tonight. My hands were pinned behind me, and the only thing, like I couldn't move. My head was in the rear floorboard of my vehicle. I couldn't move. There was nothing. I was pinned. I was like, he had me. The only thing that was available to me was my leg. And I picked up my foot and I pushed the horn as hard as I could in the vehicle. And someone from the street behind me came running across, and my abuser took off. The next day, I went to that same Dick's pawn shop and bought a gun. Now it took 24 hours for it to be cleared.
This brilliant device keeps your home cool in summer, even during heat waves and power outages. It's smaller than a lunchbox.
Sorry, guys.
But I went to that same location and bought a gun. I picked it up the next day. And I remember how I felt with that gun. Because I'm like, you know what, if he comes after me, I know what I have to do. The next day, he came after me. And I went to the police department, and I did the appropriate action. And I filed a police report. And it took, I think it was about a month and a half for him to finally get arrested after he kind of stalked me. He would hang out on the street behind where I live and just watch me and our children. So, City of Myrtle Beach, yeah, they saved me. But how many other people are just taking someone's word, and how much word does it take to say, wait a second, something is wrong? This isn't right. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Like there needs to be some kind of reform.
Yeah, and one thing I'm kind of hoping comes out of all this is some accountability for the law enforcement there that just sort of shrugged everything off for so long. And it seems like it's just because he was John Paul Miller. He's Pastor John Paul Miller, and he just seemed like he just kept getting away with these things, and that just emboldened him even more,
Right.
And this has been going on for so many years at this point. Hopefully there's some, like you said, reform, some accountability, and with the law being passed, hopefully will help other women too, and you've been through a lot of the things that Micah went through. And so, like you said before, this entire case is very triggering for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. You're somebody who escaped the situation that Micah was dealing with. And ironically, the church helped you do that.
Exactly.
So it's like all of this kind of comes full circle for you, and you're sitting here like, well, your whole world is kind of upside down.
Upside down, like my world is upside down. Okay, I'm like, Kelly, go get your butt in a church.
Kelly, let me ask you something. Do you feel you are a victim of JP?
No.
You don't. Do you feel like you're a victim of Reginald Wayne Miller?
No, not at all.
Not the church? Victim of the church? No. You're just...
Me personally, I am a member of the family of the congregation.
Gotcha. No, because people were asking in the chat, so being at the church, what goes on there? Like, what goes on inside the church? Like with events and congregation, And when did you officially leave? Like, when did you leave?
We left the church in 2007. We attended church. We had congregation. We attended church. We studied the Word. We did normal church functions. We had a summer camp. One year, the kids made a big whale out of trash bags. Or one of the parts in the Bible that talks about. I can't even think of it right now. But one of the passages, it talks about a whale. So we got together and we taped garbage bags upon garbage bags upon garbage bags for the kids of the camp. Like, we did it as a group function. And we had regular church activities.
Does it okay, so a lot of people in the chat are calling, saying bad things about John Paul Miller. They think he belongs in prison. They're calling him a fake pastor. They're calling him a psychopath and everything like that. When you see that, what's your thoughts? When you see stuff online that's, saying
it's understandable, but that's a hard, there's so many questions that, unfortunately, the first thing I'll say is something isn't right. Like, law enforcement, everything with the autopsy and everything like that. That's just, there's so many questions that could have been answered with that situation. And now, unfortunately, with what happens with the cremation and all that, we might not ever know the real, true, factual answers, unfortunately, to tell you the honest to God truth. And I think everyone has a right to their own opinion. And that's the best I can say about that. Everybody has a right for their own anger in this situation. And I value everyone's opinion. I'm not perfectly comfortable to speak as to what my true opinion is.
No, I
said that there's a lot of hurt and there's a lot of speculation, and me personally, I have a lot of questions, and hopefully in time, all of our questions will be answered.
Would that be via what, like an arrest or via court records, or how will these questions be answered, do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know how they would be answered. Hopefully they'll be answered with justice and with what's right.
Amen.
No, because Magnolia has a lot of sources, and you're one of them, and you share a lot what's going on, and we really, really appreciate it.
I would hate to know that the FBI failed us in this situation.
Interesting.
To be honest with you, I was devastated by some of the stuff that the children come forward saying.
What did the kids come forward saying?
Well, just like with one of the young lady's statements that came forward early on. And when I read it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I know that little girl. She said, I know her mama. When a family member of mine, when the psychosis first come up, I brought that person to her mother for prayer, for help in knowing what to do and what the problem was, because I really didn't know this was the first time it was ever experienced. This is the first onset of psychosis. And a little tidbit, one of the ladies that stood in the gap for me when I was at my lowest was her mother. So my heart broke at that point in time. I remember texting the magnificent Magnolia and saying, I know her. I know that little girl. Something's not right.
So,
And that,
no, I don't mean to cut you off. Like, again, like, you know, you made a post saying that JP Miller should be 5150. People that don't know what 5150 means, it's more or less involuntarily committed.
right.
And, you know, I mean, that's pretty bold to say that, you know, you being a former member there and you're seeing what's going on and calling for him to be 5150. Are you concerned about the other people that are attending the church right now? Or are you concerned for him? Do you think he could do some sort of violence? Him, John Paul Miller?
I really don't know. I will say that this is not what I would expect of a pastor. Like, you just really want to say, like, John Paul, sit down and shut up. Like, sit down and be quiet. Like, this is not what I would expect a pastor,
Right?
how me personally, expect a pastor to carry themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, again, you're a former member. You went to that church, so I mean, you've shared with us more or less the good memories. Like,
Yes. This is heartbreaking. This is heartbreaking.
Magnolia?
Yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat are confused because they're saying, like, well, how can you stick up for JP? But I think people, again, I mean, you have to understand, this is like, if you've never been in a church and you've never had a church family, then I guess you don't understand. But if you've ever been in a church situation and all of a sudden it turns out the pastor is a bad guy and everything that you thought you knew is false,
Right.
You know, it's very difficult. And we're only, what are we, like 2 months into this,
Right.
at this point?
Yes.
So when you've been part of something and your past is so intertwined with a church like this for so long, and all of a sudden this happens, I mean, it takes a while. And Kelly's not going to sit here and judge JP or anyone else, because Kelly believes that's God's job.
Yeah, that's
So,
like I can't judge. I can't judge.
She's not going to sit here and judge people. That's not her role. She believes that that's God's role. It's the FBI's role to investigate these allegations, and she's not going to convict someone on YouTube. So, I mean, I think people need to understand that this is a very difficult situation. There's an ongoing investigation. There's a lot of allegations that have come forward over the years, and people are asking, who is this little girl she's talking about? Well, it's one of the victims that's come forward, and it's not our place to tell her story. But there are many victims that have come forward, and they're speaking to the FBI, which is what they need to be doing. So, Kelly's sharing her insight and what it's like to have, she feels that the church saved her life at one time.
The church did save my life. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and honestly, it wasn't so much the church that saved my life. It was my faith in God that saved my life. My church, the women of my church, they just stood in the gap for me because I didn't know God at that point in time. I was still, I wasn't born again at that point in time. I was still maybe a sinner. Maybe I'm still a sinner now, but I believe in the wrath of God. And They stood when I was, when I didn't know, and they prayed enough that I had enough strength to find help and come back home to my mother. And 2 months later, I gave birth to my children, and my children are healthy, and they were brought up in that church.
Oh, your children went to the church?
Yes, my 5 children went to that church,
my
5 children went to that school.
Did none of them go anymore?
No, we all left in 2007.
Why did you leave?
The best that I can say was my mother said it was time to go.
So you didn't leave because of anything bad, or?
I mean, I would rather not say like we left. We left because God said it was time to go.
Oh, my heart. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
I understand.
That's the best that I like to be honest. I don't have malice in my heart, so I really don't want to say anything other than it was what God led us to do at that point in time.
I mean, can you say it any more clearer than what she just said? And I mean, it's what was best for their family at that particular time, and you cannot question. You cannot question at all. And that's how I feel.
Do you fear John Paul Miller?
I'm not scared of John Paul. I'm really not scared of John Paul. I don't think I have any reason to be scared of John Paul. To tell you the honest to God truth, me personally, I don't think that I have any reason to be. I shouldn't have any reason to be scared of John Paul. To tell you the truth, I have. There's some kind of. There are people that are worried, and I get it. I get it.
Yeah, they so the church itself, is scheduled to move to that property location, But you personally don't, you just want to wait and see what happens here? As far as, because there's a lot of people calling for the church to be shut down or John Paul Miller be in prison, arrested, resign, replaced.
I guess my personal opinion is a little different with it. Unfortunately, and I don't know what the right outcome should be with it. I know that Lord have mercy. This is a hard one to say that he wouldn't be my minister. He wouldn't be my pastor.
What's your thoughts on Trisha Ross? Do you know her?
I really don't know her.
So she wasn't there at the time. When did she come into play here?
Yeah, I really don't know. I really don't know her. This is what I would say about when we as church members, walk through those doors. We walk through those doors to that sanctuary with a clean heart. Like, we have pure hearts. And I would hope that the congregation is walking through those doors with pure, godly hearts, that they're walking through with the right intentions, and that if they are also trying to find the word of God on their own also, not, and I think that would come with any pastor. Yeah, they're supposed to teach us the word, but we're also supposed to study the word and find the word for ourselves. So I wrote down a scripture this morning, which is John 8:44. You are of the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and has nothing to do with the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks according to his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of lies.
I need your help, and here's why. I'm on a mission to recover $10 million within the next 12 months to America.
That I take
Thank you. Somebody asked in the chat, what about Charles Randall? Do you know anything about Charles Randall?
I've attended. I went to Dr. Randall's church one time. This is when I was first at the church. It was a beautiful church. It was a beautiful service. I even remember what I took from that service. And what I took from that service was a song that says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy will come in the morning. And I've held that with me for all these years, and this is like 20 years, but every time I go through struggles, any kind of struggle, I think about that. You know, like, Kelly, you got this today, and you just got to get through today, and tomorrow will be better. And that has helped me a lot through my life. And I appreciate Dr. Randall for that. As for what's going on at this point in time, I really don't know. There was a time period that they had said that Dr. Randall reached the protesters. Now, I haven't seen Dr. Randall in 20 years.
Okay, so it's been a long time then.
It's been a long time. And somebody had said, well, Dr. Randall had waved to the protesters. I'm like, oh Lord, what did I get Dr. Randall into? Like, I'm the one that waved to Dr. Randall, and I constantly wave to Dr. Randall. I don't know what the truth is, but I will say that if there is wrong, that it comes to light, that all darkness just comes to light. I can't judge anyone in any of this. That's not for me to do. And us as people, we shouldn't, as a Christian, we shouldn't judge. And I can't judge anyone.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I wanted to get some insight, from a former member of the church. You have been providing Magnolia a lot of insight about what's going on the boots on the ground. Appreciate that for sure. And stay positive, Kelly. Thanks for coming on. Stay positive.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. You guys take care. Okay, JLR investigates. All right, so that is a former member. She hadn't been there in a long time, but would still appreciate her coming on. I wanted to get some insight. And but that was very, very grateful. Always grateful to hear from people. Now, I want to show you something else before we sign off, because Trisha Ross is making a lot of posts here. One, there has been a police report filed on protesters outside the Solid Rock Church. This is a recent police report that has been filed, and it was filed a few weeks ago. And in police report says on 6/9/2024, responding officer Douglas was assigned to the Solid Rock Church for the service while a group of about 20 people protested across the street of the sidewalk. The protesters were shouting, "Justice for Micah. You can't hide from the FBI. No church, no people." There were no threats made from the crowd towards the people of the church or the pastor that RO heard of. There was loud chanting and lots of vehicles blowing their horns due to a sign that the protesters were carrying. From where the RO was standing, the protesters remained peaceful and did not come on the property of the church. So now they're calling police on protesters. So, but again, the protests have been very, very peaceful. People have been out there. Justice for Micah, the Kelly, who you just listened to, was also out there, and she's out there every week documenting herself. Solid Rock this weekend, by the way, the protesters will be back out there, so we'll be covering and monitoring that. But they put out a post. They have some sort of event going on there called Solid Rock at Market Common. This Sunday is Superhero Sunday, remembering our members that graduated to heaven. Wear your favorite superhero shirt to church. So it's quite possible this weekend, folks, at Solid Rock Church, we're going to see Spider-Man and all these outfits, superhero outfits that people from the church wear. For instance, I found an old post that Trisha Ross, who was under federal investigation, who I believe runs the Solid Rock Church, She-Hulk. She's going to be She-Hulk. And she actually has a post with, I believe this is Aslan, the girl that was with John Paul Miller on the beach, right? But Trisha Ross is speaking out because apparently people don't like the fact that they're going to have a superhero weekend at the Solid Rock Church. And people have been crying, saying, why would you dress up in these superhero outfits and everything like that? Well, Trisha Ross, she actually made a post. She actually made a post about it. I forgot to put it in the chat. Maybe I put it in the chat. Maybe I didn't. But she made a long post. Nope, don't got it here. About the, let me see if I can find it real quick. Give me a second. I'll see if I can find this post. But she made a post saying that, and she explaining why she has it. I'm going to get it real quick here. Bear with me. Trisha Ross, where are you at? Trisha Ross has a Facebook profile, and on her profile, one of the recent posts that she made was about this. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to read this. We're going to read this right here. Actually, I'm going to screenshot it, put it up into the chat here, and then we're going to read it together, because she's talking about why people would dress as superheroes at this particular event. JP Miller, as some of you know, was walking around the neighborhood as a Spider-Man. It's very possible he goes back to the Solid Rock Church this weekend as Spider-Man, or maybe even some other superhero. Here it goes. Give me 1 second. It's coming up now. I forgot to put it in the chat before I started. Okay, here we go. So Trisha Ross made this post about the superhero event this weekend, because apparently she got some backlash. And she said this. This is what she said. I have sat back long enough. It has been personal for a while now, but it has gone way too far. Superhero Sunday was created in 2016 when my amazing husband died of cancer. The church called him Superman because he worked every day. He came to church every Sunday. He pulled weeds and served the church when he had a chemo pack around his waist. He never let his illness keep him from smiling and loving people and God. Now people are criticizing our Superhero Sunday coming up. I just can't believe the hate that has been created by something so tragic. My husband would be telling everyone what he thought seeing what he had happened. Stop, please. Think what you want of me. I don't care anymore, as you will answer to God. Not loving each other and not helping each other through these tragic times is sickening. My God doesn't tell us to do that. Micah loved my husband, and she loved remembering him on Superhero Sunday. She knew what he meant to me. How dare people believe they know how any of us feel other than pain? The last time I sat next to Micah in church, she was writing me a note during the sermon saying Miss Trisha S., and she wrote a last name of a single guy in the church. While I laughed, I told her, no way, my heart will always be for my soulmate, John. You don't know me, so don't make assumptions or accusations against me. My husband in my life was the church, and it kept him strong while he fought cancer. And for those insinuating that my husband has a suspicious death, I would love for you to read the daily journal we keep of his fight with cancer. He was diagnosed at 35 years old with colon cancer stage 3 and died at 45. No, Pastor JP did not have anything to do with his death. As a matter of fact, he was with him through the entire journey, even coming to a hospital setting when they expected him to die in the first coma after aspirating into both lungs during a surgery to put a stent in his colon. So you want to hate on me, right? You want to hate on me, go right ahead. But I draw the line when you speak anything against or anything to do with my husband. That is not okay. The hardest thing for me to say right now is I pray for all of you. I don't pray anything bad, but I truly pray from my heart. Please turn to God and not your flesh. I love my husband as much as I did that very first day, and nothing or no one can ever change that. I had a church family go to the ICU at Grand Strand Hospital, all with their Superman shirts. They camped out at the hospital to make sure we were fed every day. Another one of our pastors stayed the night at hospital. So say what you want. Everyone that had attended Solid Rock has been my family since 2007. The thing is we really loved each other, and that's next to impossible to find. Let everyone grieve. He wanted to get his bachelor's degree before he passed, as it was on his bucket list. I got my associates at the same time, and then I finished my bachelor's after he passed away. So it's coming from Trisha Ross. A lot of people making accusations against Trisha Ross, saying, with everyone that died at the church, or anyone that was dealing, anyone that was close to the church that died, a lot of people, and I've been seeing it, have been blaming the pastor, saying the pastor has his fingerprints on it. Susie Skinner's husband is one example. There's many more, but Trisha Ross's husband died at a young age, 45, and people were saying, JP was responsible. So she came out there and set the record straight. Do you believe her or do you not believe her? I don't know. I don't know whether I should believe her on anything, considering that she is under federal investigation. She has a prior history with lots of different schemes and fraudulent criminal charges type things, and that's what she's currently being investigated for now. She seems like she's JP Miller's right-hand woman.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you believe her? Or no? Yay or nay? Put it in the comments if you believe her. If you feel that it's genuine on what she's saying. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, kind of in between. I'm not really sure. I guess we'll just see how things play out from here, What else can we do? I mean, really.
She was out at the church last week who got on her knees and, prayed on a sidewalk, which was very bizarre. People thought that behavior was bizarre. So remains to be seen what happens with all of this. But this weekend, don't be shocked if you see JP coming to the Solid Rock Church in a Superman outfit, or any of them, dressed in costumes. Because I know people are probably going to be circulating like, what in the world is going on at the Solid Rock? They're all dressed in costumes. making a mockery, whatever like that. This is some sort of event they claim is called Superhero Sunday. So just keep mindful of that. So that's really all we have at this time. Appreciate the guest coming on. Magnolia will continue to build her sources. She has a lot of sources. That's just not the only source she has. We are covering this case. We'll keep you informed about, anything to deal with the church. John Paul Miller, Justice for Micah. That's past Micah's Law. Again, I want to remind people every time we finish off this segment, Micah's laws can save lives. It can help victims of domestic violence. It can give them empowerment to break away from those chains. So if you're from South Carolina, make sure you encourage your legislatures, your local politicians to pass Micah's Law. It can very well make a difference and for future generations. I'm JLR Investigates. We cover true crime 24/7, 365. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great morning. When anything else breaks, I'll share with you.
Love, love, love JLR. JLR and Magnolia. They are the best duo. Holy cow. They bring the info. That is for sure. They've got their connections and I love it. I would love to speak with either one of them on any of these cases. They're just boots on the ground. I love it. So let me know what you think of that caller. I feel her pain. I do. I feel it. It's so sad. If I lived closer to there, I would be at the protest tomorrow. I did do coverage on, I think it was the very first Sunday they did a protest. It's in the videos on this channel. Go and search for that. But yeah, guys, I think I am going to end it here. It is 10:26 a.m. my time, and I haven't slept yet. I have been up all night with these cases, reading and watching and reading more. And just as I laid down this morning, just laid my head down, my phone dinged at me, and I look at it, and it's JLR. So up and away I got. But anyways, all right, everybody. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and we will chat later. Don't forget to like the video on your way out if you enjoyed it, and subscribe. I'm trying to get my channel up and going. I would love to do actual live streams with others and kind of collaborate. So anybody can shoot me an email. It's chitchatdaily369@gmail.com. If you have any questions about anything, message me. Or if you have ideas for content, for stories that you want me to cover, I really want to push more of the missing children cases. Sebastian Rogers. I mean, we still have Elijah View out there, Caleb Harris. Oh my goodness, we're waiting on that one. What are we going to be told? And hopefully soon, but and then Brian Koberger and the Idaho 4 case. I'm going to probably be knocking out a video later on today for that one. I've got, timeline information, and they actually set a trial date for next year. So we'll cover that in that video. So yeah, make sure you hit the like and subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notified when I do drop more videos and when we go live. All right, guys, I will chit chat with you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.